What was the most pathetic attention-seeking behavior you've ever witnessed? My mom has custody of my sister's daughters because my sister abandoned them. My sister doesn't ask about them. Don't try to visit them. Don't call them. Surprisingly, my mom got a call from my sister on the oldest daughter's 5th birthday. Unfortunately, it wasn't to wish happy birthday, it was to announce she had stage 4 duodenum cancer. Which was upsetting, obviously. Only my sister didn't act sick. She acted excited about all the concern. She never went to the doctors. And people started to catch on. About a year later, after people started calling her out on her inconsistencies, she put on her Facebook that she had been feeling sick all week. She puked twice that morning and went to the hospital. And the doctor declared her cancer to be gone. She puked up her cancer, of course. Some dumbasses commented on her status congratulating her for being cancer-free. My comment was deleted though. Something to the effect of, really, you fucking puked up cancer? Why the hell would you take attention away from your daughter's day with this shit? My best friend was in a train wreck of a relationship with a woman who had some serious issues due to a former partner's infidelity. When he finally broke up with her, she would text him endlessly about how she was going to kill herself. I wouldn't normally recommend this tactic, but he just ignored her, and eventually the text stopped. Maybe 2 or 3 weeks after she seemed to have accepted that it was really over, a mysterious fire started in her condo, leaving her without a place to live. And despite being insanely wealthy, she really felt like the best place for her and her dog would be my friend's tiny apartment. They just needed something familiar after the trauma. He wisely refused. You will never, ever convince me she didn't start that fire herself. My freshman year, I admitted to my roommate that I was struggling with depression, and that was part of why I drank so much. She responded by encouraging me to get drunk, taking me to a party, dancing with a guy, then claiming he raped her when he got handsy. Like literally screamed rape, ran out of the party, ran to a guy's dorm down the street to cuddle with her male friend for an hour to help her over the trauma. I didn't even want attention for my problem, but she still had to feel more important. Classmate. My Nigerian boyfriend committed suicide after his parents rejected me for being white. My life is the worst. Everyone eats that shit up and starts gathering around her like a flock of hens at feeding time. Find out not long ago the Nigerian fella is very much alive, was only ever an acquaintance, and they went out for a drink once and only once. He's in a different program at our university but avoids her like the plague now. My sister is mentally disabled. At the age of 22, she has the cognitive function of an 11 or 12-year-old. She has severe fear of missing out. I don't know where it comes from, but she gets serious anxiety about being left out of various events, even though we make a special effort to include her in most things. She goes to a school aimed at teaching adults with special needs different life skills. If she knows I'm coming into town to visit my parents, or I have something planned with them, she'll fake illnesses at school, so my parents have to come pick her up. It's super annoying because it means that we all have to cancel our plans, and she's always faking it. As soon as she comes back home, she's perfectly fine. But my parents and my sister's teachers caught on to her BS. After several incidences of faking sick, they stopped indulging her and stopped calling my parents. My sister realized she needed to up her game. After watching 13 Reasons Why on Netflix, my sister found out that claiming to be suicidal was a foolproof way to get the attention back on her. One day at school, she tried to fake sickness again. Her teachers weren't falling for it. So, she got her hands on a phone in the school's office and dialed 911, threatening to hurt herself. An ambulance came and took my sister to the hospital. She ended up getting herself stuck in a psych ward for over a few weeks. She learned her lesson and never played that game again. My ex was a hypochondriac and addicted to going to the hospital. She would pick symptoms of conditions that my close family members were affected by to try and make me feel that much sorrier for her. One time she called me crying, saying the dry said she was pre-diabetic because my father was diabetic. So, I rushed to see her, and she's acting like nothing happened. Then I brought it up a few days later, and she said, "Oh haha. I just drank a Coke before having my blood drawn, it must have messed up the test." My roommate does this to me. She's gotten a lot better, but man, it was rough for a while. Not just with health issues, but any life stressor or drama that she thinks will get her attention. I got pregnant, had a medication abortion at home. It was horrific, and for months afterward, she would claim her periods were actually miscarriages. I shattered my ankle and tore some doodads in my knee. Unable to walk for a few months. Days after my accident, she has a mysterious accident which she receives no medical treatment for, but requires her to use crutches. When convenient, I found out my longtime boyfriend was cheating on me a ton, and lying to his friends and family about our relationship. She starts getting histrionic about how her boyfriend is clearly cheating on her. He wasn't every allergy I have, she develops. It's maddening. This one girl I know constantly posts on social media about her pathetic ass drama in life. CPS took her kids. When she was fighting to get them back, she was posting public pictures of her doing drugs with her sex offender BF. She then cried and bitched by her CPS caseworker, saw and made a ton of poor me posts about how life isn't fair. Literally the only reason people follow her is because she is such a mess. My ex-friend used to threaten suicide. I lost track of him after high school, then we reconnected. We're both musicians, so we play out together at pubs. It was fun until I discovered that he had multiple restraining orders and a history of beating women. I immediately ended the friendship, and he became very psycho. He would call and text me all hours of the day and night threatening suicide. I tried to help him at first, but I discovered that it was a 100% ploy. I have an older brother who committed suicide, so this hit me hard. My little cousin will come into the bathroom, sit down and look in the mirror, only to start talking about how cute she is. Asking me, isn't this selfie cute? I will agree, and she will say, I know right. How good she is at doing her hair. How everybody thinks she's mixed. Asking me if I think she's skinny. Just fishing for compliments on a daily basis and talking about her appearance. I want my cousin to actually realize her being like that lets people know how insecure she actually is. It's sickening and super annoying. I met a girl in college who I had been friends with in middle school, and was really excited to catch up with her. I friended her on Facebook, and honestly the only reason I still follow her is because she is an absolute spectacle of attention seeking. Half of it is RIM14 anthesistic material about how sensitive she is, and how as an empath, she just feels things in ways that other people couldn't understand. Usually if people don't like or comment enough on these posts, she'll post more frequently about her mental health, and how bad things are for her. The other half is textbook performative allyship. She's straight and white but never misses a beat to let everyone know how woke she is, and reminds everyone daily of how much she is fighting the good fight for social justice. Don't get me wrong, I wholeheartedly support the same social justice cause as she does. I just think it's incredibly insincere to try and cash it in for ally points, by bragging about it on the internet. I think the cringiest incident ever though was one day she posted something like, hey, there are 2 people on my friends list that a lot of you all know from high school, who have said some pretty problematic things. Do you guys want me to do a call out post, so you can be more informed on what they're actually like? Or something to that effect. It was pretty much ignored. The next day we get a wall of texts about how person A and person B are misogynists, transphobes, etc., complete with pictures of them, and screenshots of things that they've said in comment sections on other parts of Facebook. The whole time she has this condescending, I just want you all to see this because you have a right to know what they're really like, and I'm concerned that you may not be aware of how bad they are tone. Also, she even had a whole paragraph about how person A is probably such a jerk to me, because I rejected him in middle school. She's 23 years old now. It was an absolute train wreck. My ex-girlfriend is in high school. She talked a lot about her sexual adventures. Most of the guys she claims to have slept with either didn't go to her school, and the few that did say it was once only. She'd cry and say how each one broke her heat or raped her. She claimed she was super into women suddenly, and so I asked her out. She would be all over me at school, but outside of school our relationship was non-existent. When I publicly broke up with her for cheating with a man, she tried to blame me. Our friends had none of it, so she started crying and said she would jump out of the school. One of my friends told her to just fucking do it. She didn't. She fell off a trampoline and broke her arm. She had surgery to repair the bone, which left a long scar along both sides of her forearm. She told a lot of people she had tried to commit suicide. The pity party ended when the friend who owned the trampoline called her out. I was rather gothic in high school. One day I started hearing all these weird rumors that my ex was copying me. I shrugged it off because, no, fuck her. Until I heard her voice saying, "I told you not to call me by real name. I'm going by name now." Except her new name was my nickname. I came around the corner and it was like she'd shopped my closet and taken a picture of my hair at a salon. I gave her a slow once over and promptly burst out laughing. Cue crying and her trying to guilt trip me for a week. And the cherry on her weird fuckery. She started to smell bad. Like, you knew when she entered a room because a miasma of piss and sweat followed her. Her hair was matted and dirty. She claimed her mom hadn't paid for their utilities, and she had no water, and her cat was peeing on her clothes. A few of us felt bad and showed up at her apartment when she wasn't home. It was just her and her mom, to gather her laundry and wash it for her. A friend was going to even let my ex shower at her place. Her mom let us in and said, "I want you girls to see what's actually happening." Bewildered, we took a tour of their place. XGF had taken all the furniture out of her bedroom, saved a bare mattress, and thrown it into the living room. She carved "fuck you mom" into the wood of her bed frame. In her bathroom, which had water, there was a pile of clothes in the tub. They smelled like piss. We were appalled. The real shocker. They didn't own a cat. 3 people I went to school with, all separately. One was a girl who, quite sadly, told other girls in our year that her auntie was Rose from the Titanic, and she was building a new Titanic to find Jack. We were in high school, so about 14 here. Sad, really. She was on Jeremy Kyle when she grew up. The second was a lad who was a bit older, about 21 at the time, who would put things like "might get married this year" on his Facebook, just to make the, say, 16-year-old girl he was chatting to jealous, though they had never met. This happened a lot. He was really odd, like the time I was near him in a library, and he, recognizing me, pretended he was on the phone talking to a girl. It didn't ring in the hilarious way it sometimes does in movies when someone pretends to be on it, but the librarian told him to keep the noise down, and he apologized and forgot he was on the phone. He never carried on the conversation, just stood there with the silent phone in his hand looking at books. The third was a lad who put a video of himself singing "Wherever You Will Go" by The Calling on his Facebook. Only it wasn't him, it was the actual song. Well, an acoustic version, but the proper band singing and playing it. I had the same song, so, at first, I told him he put the wrong audio on it, or you could hear the song he was singing along to over him, to which he said he hadn't, and it was him. I tried to tell him it wasn't, and he was adamant. Others did, and he was adamant it was him. An account he had just became friends with. This was when Facebook would say on tour wall when you became friends with someone, with no profile picture or any information, wrote on his status that she was his girlfriend, and this was definitely him. It was obviously an account he had created himself. The next day he told his Facebook friends that he was going to audition for X Factor that afternoon. That evening, he updated his status of how he didn't get through, but Simon Cowell had specifically come backstage to talk to him, and tell him to personally stay in touch for the future. This person was also a bit peculiar, having been suspended from primary school for looking through the keyhole, whilst the girls were getting changed for PE in a separate classroom, and when he was 16, rode his dead grandmother's shop mobility scooter around town. There was also a friend who told my girlfriend's friend that I was cheating on her with my girlfriend. I was having my second child, Maddie, when my mother decided to pull one of her glorious, "no one deserves more attention than me" acts. Tyler, fiance, and I were in our hospital room, spending time with our daughter. We were about to get some shut-eye when a nurse came to the door to let Tyler know that he had a call waiting at the front desk. Our first impressions were kind of shocking because we had cell phones and thought everyone knew to call us personally if they wanted to come visit. Oh, and it was also like really late. It was my mother, of course. Her husband had allegedly beat her, and her dogs had attacked him. Their phone was busted up, so she ran to the neighbors to use their phone, and didn't know what our cell numbers were, so she had Googled the hospital number. She needed Tyler to come immediately and get her. I laughed. I seriously laughed my ass off. The first thing that came out of my mouth was, why didn't she call the cops? We are nearly 3 counties over, just had a baby the day before, and what the heck were we going to even do about it? Tyler had told her no, and we didn't hear from her anymore. My sister told me the following day that she was fine and never said a word to her about anything like that happening. Maddie is now 2 years old and has never met my mom. I was fed. A friend would walk around with a locket that had the face of some dude she met for 2 weeks while abroad. Mind you, this was, like, in middle school. She would brag about how he's her future husband, but I just think it was so that she wouldn't be seen as dateless. And then when she stopped wearing the locket, she decided to wear a chastity ring instead, and would use every opportunity to brag about how she's saving herself for marriage. Yeah, she was one of those grading holier-than-thou types. Needless to say, she mysteriously stopped wearing it after her first real boyfriend. It was so bad that before the chastity ring fiasco, she claimed to be asexual demisexual and then conveniently forgot. My mother recently moved to Florida with husband number 3, and she's one of those people who desperately needs everyone to know just how well and how happy she is. Almost like she has to prove it to herself. Every day I go on Facebook and it's 3 consecutive paragraph-long posts from her about how she reached some table, and how unbelievably happy and wonderful her new life is. If I had $1 for every time she posted, "I love our life, we are so blessed, we love our new house, life is so great," I would live a lavish life for many decades to come. Mentioned it to a family friend, and she thought the exact same thing. It's just all attention-seeking bragging. Had a girl from high school break up with long-term BF very publicly on FB, changed status to single, along with a few posts going on how terrible men are in Wetnit. She goes back to hometown, where we were in school, and goes to a mutual friend of hers and BF's. Proceeds to post many drunk selfies with friend and sleeps with him. This I found out through another source, but it was basically all over her FB page. Next day she's back with BF, and relationship is back to normal, and they're still together. I only keep her on FB now in case this happens again. She's always posting random things like that. She and her BF are no longer on speaking terms with that mutual friend. My, now, ex-girlfriend's parents were having a barbecue for the first week of summer, and my ex had invited some of her friends who I hadn't met before. I was meeting a bunch of new people, so I was using my sweet transferable skills from work, and making cocktails for people as icebreakers. One of my ex's friends arrives, introduces herself. I ask if she wants a cocktail. She says she likes Sex on the Beach, the cocktail, not the song, but mad hype for Teaspoon, but she doesn't know how to make one, so I offer to show her. The only physical contact we have is when I show her how to hold the cocktail shaker, so she doesn't throw the drink all over herself, and my girlfriend goes to her sister and tells her that she had seen me and her friend having sex in the kitchen, and that she was going to kill herself. Her sister told her to stop being stupid, and she decided to start throwing glasses around and kicking things, sending a glass inch past her 3-year-old niece, and eventually her parents had to ask everyone to leave, because she was ruining it for everybody there. An acquaintance from high school who is constantly torn between Facebook being too mainstream, and not having an audience to show off how independent she is. I think she's reactivated her account 4 times now, never lasting more than a month. Each time it's amazed people can't use this platform for anything more than pictures of food and vacations. Done with all of it. Followed by I know I said I would never use Facebook again, but I have to highlight my flash mob underwear roller derby squad, and the sense of community they bring inner city kids. She can't quit and it's fun to watch. My nephew was dating this girl. We will call her Little Princess because if it wasn't about her, then she was such a bitch. The worst thing that ever happened was my nephew took his 4-year-old little nephew out to one of those Build-A-Teddy-Bear stores for his birthday, and Little Princess had a meltdown in the story, because she had to have a bear also. She was 26 at the time, and was crying and wearing a shit fit at a 4-year-old's birthday, till she got her beer too. This little princess quit beauty school because it was too hard, then she started working with dogs because they love no matter what. But last I heard doesn't do that anymore. She is now having to be 29 and living with mommy and daddy, because life is so hard. Needless to say, she is gone from my nephew's life.